You all are watching. What up? It is Cole Ragic, the Ratty Daddy, and you're watching Cole TV. Let's go.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. It's IXLJ, the OG, and welcome back to another episode of Pro Wrestling 60, where we talk about everything that happened in the world of professional wrestling this past week. And boy, oh boy, it was another crazy, chaotic, hectic, and busy week, and we have so much to talk about. But first, I am joined once again by my partner in crime, my brother from another mother this week, hailing from the Double Cross Ranch in Amarillo, Texas, Mr. B-Roll. How you doing, B-Roll? Good to have you back.
How are we doing out there, world? Can't keep a good man down. Couldn't leave my brother from another mother hanging again. Was down with the sickness, but ready to talk some wrestling.
Yes, indeed. We got a ton of wrestling to talk about this week. So, as always, Mr. B-Roll, I'll let you get that sweet, sweet line of yours in.
So wait, so how did that work if I never said it last week? Like,
The clock's
did you
still
just
ticking
have
now.
endless amounts of time?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess depends on how you look at it.
But boy, oh boy, do we have enough to talk about today. So, as we say here at PW60, the clock starts now.
That's right. Now, for our top story this week, CM Punk's got those Hell's Frozen Over t-shirts. Has Hell frozen over here? It was announced this week that TNA Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, has signed and agreed to a deal with Endeavor to create a new streaming service. Now, I know what you're thinking, like, oh, okay, it's a new streaming service, blah blah blah. But the thing is, you got to pay attention to the most here. It's with Endeavor, who is with the WWE. Does this mean the unthinkable is happening? Does this mean TNA Wrestling could be working with the WWE at somewhere on down the road? What do you make of this, B-Roll?
Who knows? It's a bit of a head scratcher. It's definitely not like, you know, you know, nothing to freak out about yet.
No, far from it.
But
I mean, TNA is on
it's it
fire right now.
it is it is newsworthy. It is noteworthy, and that's why it's our top story. And I'll say this. One thing I'm excited about with how they've been describing the streaming service is that it's going to include the pay-per-views. So
Yes.
much like with your Peacock prescription, you don't have to you pay your monthly thing. Um, so
Now, my
that
understanding is, though, on this, there is packages, though. Now, like your standard package will include all the pay-per-views except for the big four, which I'm not sure what they're classifying as the big four other than Slammiversary, Bound for Glory. I don't know what the other two would be, but yeah, that's kind of what they're saying. Now, there is another package you can get that includes all four. I think it's like you got to pay for the whole year, and it's like $100 or something like that. But nonetheless, the
it's
model is
interesting.
different. Yeah, it's interesting, and I think it's more intriguing. And hopefully, it's going to get more fans to be watching TNA wrestling because we say it here every week on Pro Wrestling 60. They're killing it right now. So I don't think it necessarily means like, oh no, they're about to become like WWE's like farm system or something like that by any means. I think it's just I think it's a good opportunity, honestly, for 'em. And I mean, they've worked with WWE in the past, technically. I mean, who knows? Maybe you can see somebody from the TNA roster in this year's Royal Rumble as well. You never know. Because remember, in the world of pro wrestling, never say never. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. But all in all, it's definitely a step in the right direction for TNA wrestling. Well, Mr. B-Roll, we had a crazy Saturday night in the world of pro wrestling, did we not? Because we had not one, not two, not three, but 4 different shows going on this past Saturday. It was Super Saturday, if you will. So let's just get right into it. And up first, we got to talk about WWE's last premium live event of the year, NXT Deadline, taking place from Bridgeport, Connecticut. NXT is another one of those. We've talked about it here every week, like TNA Wrestling. NXT is firing on all cylinders. They are putting on a phenomenal product, and this was a pretty good show. But I got to talk about the opener here. Yes, CM Punk was on NXT. Because why not? Because hell, he's been on Raw and SmackDown. Let's put him on NXT too. See what happens.
He's getting the Jade Cargill treatment,
Pretty much. So,
popping up here, there, and everywhere.
but the crowd, the crowd did pop for him. You can't deny that. I do feel like, and we're going to get into this a little bit. I do feel like Punk's it seems like he's a little bit more comfortable in his role, because I felt like last Monday was very fucking uncomfortable. But I don't know. Like I say, we'll elaborate a little bit more on that. But a pretty cool moment with Shawn Michaels. By the way, I do have to say I respect Punk for the fact that he's wearing a Bret Hart hoodie, and they did acknowledge that.
Yeah.
Pretty fun.
Nice hoodie.
What a way to kick off NXT's Deadline. But what I want to talk about is this main event. Ilya Dragunov defending against Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin, he's had an interesting year, wouldn't you say, B-Roll? Like, I mean, kind of some ups, some downs. He's doing some good things on NXT right now, and I would safely say this was probably Baron Corbin's best match he's had in a long time. Definitely this year for sure, because I mean, this was back and forth. They told a great story in this matchup too, of like Dragunov making all these sacrifices, for his kid essentially, and Baron Corbin not like going down the same path, but not making the sacrifices or something. That's kind of like my takeaway from it. But anyways, hell of a main event though. What did you think of this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, I was like, it over delivered for me, and I'm
Yeah, it
not
did.
saying that I wasn't excited about it, but I guess like I didn't have any doubt that it would be a good match, but it was even better than what I expected. So
I think that's the best way to put it. Is it definitely like over delivered and then some? And guess what? It's our match of the week here on Pro Wrestling 60. The NXT title encounter between Ilya Dragunov and Baron Corbin. Of course, Dragunov did retain his NXT championship. And we did find out what's going to happen next for Dragunov, but we'll talk about that here in a moment, because let's talk about them. The Iron Survival matches, both the men's and women's Iron Survivor matches took place, as they always do at Deadline. I think this is a fun matchup, man. They just started doing it last year, and both of these matches, in my opinion, delivered this year. Both told great stories, was very interesting, down to the wire in some cases. Some incredible moments in this one. We got to talk about Lash, right? Like coming out and just like dominating, like I loved her, like getting the pinfall victory on like 2 competitors at the same time. But I will say this: I did predict that one B Priestley would win this matchup, or what I meant B Priestley. I'm sorry, I'm doing the same thing I do with Jonah. Damn it, Blair Davenport would win this matchup, and she did, and she is now your #1 contender for the NXT Women's Championship. What do you make of this Women's Iron Survivor?
yes, I was super pleased with this. That's who I wanted to win. I didn't know if they would pull the trigger or not, especially like with like Tiffany Stratton being in there. But yeah,
I think each one of the competitors told a unique story, had a unique story to tell in this matchup too, as well. And then the end coming down with Lash chasing around Blair, but Blair surviving and picking up the win, man.
Yeah, like I texted you, I said, Blair versus Lyra, sign me up.
Yes, indeedy. And in the men's iron qualifier matchup, it was a tremendous matchup. And boy, oh boy, when Braun Breaker come out, it looked like it was game over for everybody because he just kept pinning guys and pinning guys and pinning guys. And it looked like for certain he was going to win this matchup. But I think both you and I had an idea of who we thought would win this. And can we just say this? Whoop that Trick. Yes, Trick Williams picks up the win. He has got to be one of the most popular, if not the most popular guy on the NXT roster right now. Picking up a huge win, continuing that momentum, and now he is the number one contender for the NXT Championship. And as we saw at the end of Deadline, he will be facing Ilya Dragunov at New Year's Revolution coming up in January.
New Year's Evil.
Oh, New Year's Evil. That's right. God, I'm flip flopping all these names, man. That's what happens when you have so much wrestling knowledge up here. You get things mixed up, and you get older too. Just saying. But thank you, New Year's Evil. You kids changing these names on these damn shows. Anyways, it's going to be an interesting matchup to see. I don't think Trick wins, but I think he comes awful close. But you never know; they may pull the trigger on it and have him be the champion.
You never know. Somebody may cost him the match.
A little
Never know.
confusing at the end of the show too, because I thought they showed Carmelo coming out with him too, and I thought something was going to happen there, and then they went off the air. So it's like, okay, what the hell happened? Apparently nothing, but makes you wonder. But both the Iron Survivor matches were great. Did you have a preference of one over the other?
I enjoyed the women's a little more than the
I was
men's.
gonna say, I think I enjoyed the women's a little bit more than the men's, but the men's had a more, I don't know, I kind of like the finish more of the men's, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, they were both tremendous matchups. But that's not all that happened at Deadline. We got to talk about this. It opened up with Dragon Lee challenging Dominic Mysterio for the NXT North American title. I'm a little surprised, honestly, because, folks, we have a new NXT North American champion. It is Dragon Lee as he defeated Dirty Dom. Now, to Dom's credit, he did not have Mommy in his corner. So, I mean, that was a little bit of an unfair advantage right there, I think, personally. Were you
Well, where was
surprised
she
Dragon
at?
Lee? I don't know. She's taking care of business for the Judgment Day. But planning things, plotting things. She's doing mommy stuff. But don't you worry. Dirty Dom will get his championship back before too long. But were you surprised with this title change?
I think it was time.
So you think it was time for Dirty Dom to drop the belt, huh?
I think so.
Do you think if this was what the original matchup was planned, the outcome would have been the challenger winning?
Yes.
I think so too. Yeah. Well, nonetheless, Dragon Lee has won his first singles championship in the WWE as he's your new NXT North American champion. And also, we got to see this cage match with Roxanne going up against Kiana James as the feud had boiled over and finally built up to lead to this cage matchup. And Kiana James, man, picking up maybe the biggest win of her career so far as she defeated Roxanne with a little bit of help. But nonetheless, Kiana James is victorious. Or you think we're done with this rivalry, or you think Roxanne's going to come after her still to get revenge?
I hope we're done with it, kind of.
Yeah. So I feel like it's time for
I'm kind of done with it.
I think Kiana is going to be that next. I wouldn't be surprised if Kiana is the one that dethrones Lyra Valkyrie for the women's championship. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. Maybe WrestleMania weekend at Stand and Deliver. But I think Kiana James, this was a step in the right direction for her as she's going to become the next big star in the women's division in NXT. And I'm for it. I like her. I enjoy her work. I enjoy her character. I enjoy everything about her. So, but man, she was getting some of that big time treatment with those showing her arriving in the limo or arriving with the whatever the hell it was. But showing the behind the scenes footage and stuff. So, superstar in the works in Kiana James. And also, we got to see Carmelo Hayes and Lexis King collide finally as Carmelo would pick up the win against Lexis King. But I like what Lexis King said at the end of this. Pretty much more or less how he was more or less using Carmelo Hayes for the spotlight, and that it wasn't, in fact, him being the one that attacked Trick Williams. So still leaving a lot of answers there. Me personally, I would have liked to have seen Lexis King go over in this matchup, but I understand why it happened. So I don't know. Do you think they continue the feud, or you think this was just kind of like, let's get Lexis King on the pay per view, give him a big matchup, and then we move on to the next thing for these two guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more about continuing and adding to the story of Trick and Mello than it is for Lexis King, really. Um,
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with that, man. So, but we'll have to see where Lexis King goes from here on NXT. And hey, big return news! Here you see herself, Cora Jade, return to NXT. As she would attack your women's champion, Lyra Valkyrie, as she came out to confront Blair Davenport after she won the Iron Survivor matchup. Could be interesting to see where one Cora Jade goes from here. I feel like she's healed up, she's healthy. I got a good feeling like she could be another one that could pose a serious threat to becoming the next NXT Women's Champion. Um, hell, maybe even more so than Kiana. But I think once the Davenport match happens, I do believe perhaps at the next NXT Premium Live event. God, I hate saying that.
Vengeance Day in February.
Vengeance Day in February, you could be seeing maybe Cora Jade challenging for the Women's Championship. Who knows? But I'll say this: I do feel like that NXT Women's roster is loaded right now. We've talked about it before here on PW60. It may be like the second best book division behind the Knockouts division, and it's slowly starting to creep up. It may be the best book division in all of women's wrestling, honestly. But exciting things happen on Tuesday nights on NXT, and this deadline show was a pretty solid one, to say the least. But we mentioned there were several other events happening Saturday night. Let's talk about Impact Wrestling's Final Resolution. Their final show of the year would take place this past Saturday night. What a main event! Motor City Machine Guns.
The final pay-per-view under the Impact banner.
Oh, that's a good point. This is the last one. You talk about history being made. Yeah, the last one being under the Impact banner, as we're going to back to TNA wrestling in January. But that main event, though, dude, Motor City Machine Guns against Zack Sabre Jr. and Josh Alexander. I love that. As a tag team wrestling connoisseur yourself, what did you think of that matchup?
I mean, you see a matchup on paper, right?
Mhm.
And you're like, "Ooh, that's gonna be good." And it's just a beautiful thing. It was a beautiful thing to behold.
Yes, it was. And there was all sorts of great tag matches all throughout the night of Final Resolution. Of course, Trinity teaming up with Jordan Grace to go up against Deonna Purrazzo and Giselle Shaw. What'd you make at the end of that one? You know, with Giselle Shaw pretty much jumping Deonna, and Deonna is a free agent, it looks like, in 2024. One of the many. Uh, is this one of the last times we see Deonna Purrazzo in an Impact ring, you think?
Think so. I
Well,
think so.
It's going to be interesting to see where the Furcioso goes from here. And I mentioned tag matches. How about the Rascals were in tag action against Speedball Mike Bailey and a mystery partner? Well, that mystery partner turned out to be Mr. Mustache Mountain himself, the one and only Trent Seven, showing up in Impact. And guess what happened after the match? Trent Seven has signed with Impact Wrestling, and he is, or I'm sorry, with TNA Wrestling, and he is the newest member on the roster. I know our good, close personal friend Shanna Hill enjoyed the hell out of this moment. If you're not following her, give her a follow. She had some interesting TikToks on this. But what do you make of Trent Seven being a part of TNA Wrestling?
You know, it's surprising. It's almost, maybe it's taken him this long to be signed by one of the bigger companies. But you know what? Welcome to Mustache Mountain.
Damn
That's all I gotta
straight.
say.
Yeah, and I think the cool thing about this is like it's also going to enable him still to work like his dates over in Europe and everywhere else. So, um, but hey, if you haven't done so, check out the Final Resolution card. There were some other awesome matches on there, like Tommy Dreamer retaining his digital media title against Diener, which is a weird to say in 2023. Tommy Dreamer retaining a title, but I love me some Tommy Dreamer. Just saying. But like I say, check out TNA's Final Resolution. It's a great show. Also, the Ukrainian Center out in Los Angeles, California, GCW was back for the highest in the room, too. Now, what was significant about this show is this was the debut, the GCW in-ring debut of one Andre El Idolo, as he was in the main event going up against the bad boy himself, Joey Janela. It was an incredible matchup. Of course, Andrade El Idolo picking up the win.
Yeah, I mean, and you want to talk about like world traveler, he was in, Montreal, Quebec, Canada around
Yeah,
like, 8 o'clock.
yeah.
And then he made it all the way to GCW in LA. How did he
Pretty
do
damn
that?
magic. That's how. But this was the GCW always is putting out fun and amazing shows. This was another one. If you haven't seen it, I would definitely check it out because you get to see Maki Death Kill go up against what are we calling him, Johnny Game Changer, I guess, on this show, and and Taya Valkyrie in a tag match. Oh, but Blake, our good friend cousin Blake, retained his GCW championship against Starboy Charlie. But the one thing I really want to talk about on this one is Manser. What are you doing, man? Mance Warner or Mance Warner turning on Effie. How could he do that? How could Effie's daddy, man? It's like, I mean, come on, you got Steph DeLander. Is this Steph wearing off on you? Is that what this is? I mean, I be wrong. I'm at a loss for words. Just talk. I don't understand it.
He's just, Steph DeLander kicked him out of MLW, and he's just lost.
I guess so, but I'm very disappointed with you, man.
He's lost his way.
Apparently so. Well, and rounding out our shows from Saturday night, let's talk about AEW Collision from Montreal, Quebec, Canada, as we got to see the Continental Classic continue on, of course. Eddie Kingston finally getting on the board, picking up a big win against Claudio Castagnoli. We got to see Willow Nightingale in action against Mercedes Martinez. Also, Kenny Omega and Ethan Page in a Battle of Canada, which is great to see Ethan Page on television. He needs to be more featured on television. I'm just saying, Collision Dynamite, I don't care. I need me some more All Ego. But let's talk about that main event and the Continental Classic. Andrade El Idolo going up against Bryan Danielson. What a brutal, brutal matchup, man. And at the end there, Danielson looks like he's pretty hurt, pretty banged up from this incredible matchup. And Andre El Idolo picking up the win. Very impressive. Were you surprised Andrade picked up the win against Danielson?
A little bit, but it honestly, this was probably my match of the week.
Yeah, this was like it was kind of neck and neck between this and the Dragunov, but we ended up ultimately going with Dragunov. But hey, kudos to Andrade, especially anytime a man can have two amazing matchups in the same day and like travel, like B-roll says, he's gonna be our wrestler of the week is one Andrade El Idolo. What an impressive outing he had on Saturday night. All over the
I
place.
think he's discovered teleportation is what I think.
Yeah, we gotta give him credit for that too, as well, man. Well, hey, let's talk about Dynamite from Wednesday night, which was an impressive show. Of course, the Continental Classic still going on as Jon Moxley would take on Roosh. We got Jay White going against Jay Lethal, and of course Swerve Strickland going up against Mark Briscoe. We'll talk about the standings here in just a moment, but what about that matchup for the Women's Championship with one timeless Toni Storm defending against Sky Blue, and a returning Riho is back in AEW. Okay, I guess. I don't know. I gotta be honest with you. Maybe a hot take. Well, probably not. I don't understand the whole like the Rio. I don't get it. I don't get it. Like I mean, she's not a bad wrestler by any means. Don't get me wrong, but I don't find anything about her character or anything appealing. Like I feel a connection with Hikaru Shida, and I feel a connection with like an Emi Sakura and other like Joshi wrestlers, but Riho just I don't get it. Do you?
No, I don't really either. But other than what I think she was the first AEW champion, right?
Yep, she was first AEW Women's Champion. Yep. So, but let's talk about the big story coming out of Dynamite on Wednesday night. The first time meeting one on one in over 20 years. Christian Cage defending his TNT championship against his best friend, his brother, Adam Copeland. Going into this, I thought this was going to be like, I didn't really think we were going to get a full match. I thought there was going to be some bullshit blow off or something like that, but no. Um, we did, in fact, get a one-on-one matchup. Um, were you surprised with the finish, though? Like, I
A little
wasn't
bit.
surprised that Christian won, but maybe I'm nitpicking here, but I felt like it was a little hokey. Like, I feel like it was a little like, really, like, okay. I mean, this is no disrespect to like Nick Wayne's mom, but like you could tell, like I don't know if she was nervous or what, but she was looking at Chris or Edge the whole damn time. You knew she was going to hit him in the head. It was like, was she thinking in her head like I got to get my spot? I don't know. It just maybe I'm nitpicking too much, but to me, it just fell kind of flat. I don't know. I wasn't feeling it.
It was just kind of odd.
Yeah, yeah, and so obviously this feud is not done yet. You know we're gonna get another match out of this. At least I would hope so. Um, not a bad match, but I think it's one of those things where it's just so built up in our heads of like what to expect and see, and the fact that it was on Dynamite. But it makes sense because of where it's at, because it was in Montreal. So I get, like I say, I get that aspect of it, but I don't know. I was expecting more out of this, but once again, that's the greedy wrestling fan in me. What can I say? Let's talk about Rampage from Friday night, as we did get another match in the Continental Classic. Bryan Danielson going up against Daniel Garcia. We also got the international title was on the line with Orange Cassidy defending against Angelico. And the storyline continuing on with Abaddon, as it looks like she's going to be challenging Julia Hart for the TBS title. That's interesting. And the Don Callis family was in action as well. But let's talk about it, Mr. B-Roll. Let's talk about the Continental Classic. As it is, we're kind of getting into we're past the midway point at this point. As we have got in the lead, well, let's talk about the Gold League first. In the lead, we've got a tie with Jon Moxley and Swerve Strickland each having 9 points. Then you have then you have Jay White with 6 points. Roosh with 3 points, and then Mark Briscoe and Jay Lethal are pretty much eliminated from contention. So, I mean, really, you have like Jay White maybe could get in on a fluke. I don't think Roosh. I think technically Roosh is still in it, but it would be a lot would have to happen. But this matchup,
look who Jay White still has to wrestle. Jay White and Moxley still have to wrestle.
right? Yeah, so he's still very much in it, but I mean, there's some stuff that's got to happen. But the big thing is this Wednesday on Dynamite, winter is coming. It is going to be Jon Moxley and Swerve Strickland, and arguably the winner of that matchup could very well be the person who wins the Gold League of the Continental Classic. I mean, like I say, there'd have to be some things would happen. Jay White's still very much in the talks of it. Roosh is barely in the talks, but you can't officially say Mark Briscoe and Jay Lethal are eliminated. So at this point, all they could do is play spoilers, essentially.
I mean, Roosh basically would have to win out, pretty much.
Well, not only that, I believe he'd have to have some people lose too. I think. But
and you got to remember, there still can be a tie where they only get 1 point.
Yeah, I feel like that's going to happen pretty soon because there's going to.
It hasn't happened yet.
It hasn't happened yet, so I feel like that is coming. But Let's talk about over on the Blue League and how things are looking. So in the Blue League, we've got a three-way tie for first, as we've got Brian Danielson with 6 points. We have Brody King with 6 points, and we've got Andrade El Idolo with 6 points. However, that being said, I mean, really, Andrade is kind of looking pretty damn good here because he has only wrestled 2 matches so far in the Continental Classic. So, I mean, he's still got a match against Eddie Kingston, Claudio, and Brody King. So, hey, I mean, it's anybody's ball game, really, in the blue. And you also got Claudio on the board with 3 and Eddie Kingston with 3. Now, Daniel Garcia, I believe, has well, no, he's still technically in it, I think. But man, oh man, there would have to be a lot that would happen for Daniel Garcia to come out victorious in this Continental Classic. I'm still pulling for Eddie Kingston, man. Like I hope Eddie wins out. He's still got matches against Daniel Garcia and Andrade El Idolo. Needs some big wins there. Who do you think is going to win the Blue League, though? Because, I mean, it seems like the Gold one's really just kind of Mox or Swerve, with Jay White still knocking on the door.
Yeah,
This
like
seems like a lot more like.
I thought it was Danielson, but
I think it could be.
I got-
I'm pulling for Eddie. I'm listening to my heart. I think Eddie Kingston's going to be the come from behind kid. I don't know how the hell he's going to do it, but I think it's going to happen, man.
yeah,
But
yeah, he'll have to. I mean, he's got to beat Andrade.
we pretty much got about
Exactly.
2 more weeks of action, and then we'll determine who goes to the finals at World's End. But man, B-roll, I'm going to tell you, I love these round robin tournaments, man. They're amazing, but sometimes it's hard to keep up with. Sometimes they're a little difficult to keep track of because us traditional, like the North American wrestling fans, we're not used to all these round robin tournaments. We're used to single elimination tournaments, right? Well, thankfully, our good friend, the Best Gout Machine, is here to kind of fill us in on how these round robin tournaments work. Check this out.
All right, America, let me explain to you one more time how this works. Okay, a round robin tournament is when you have 2 or even multiple brackets of wrestlers. So these batches of wrestlers have to wrestle each other. Each wrestler gets a turn to wrestle each other wrestler, and there's another bracket of different set of wrestlers, and those wrestlers wrestle the other wrestlers. Each one wrestles each one. Everybody gets a turn, and you win points. I'm sorry that the King of the Ring tournament ruined it for all of you, and also the Queen of the Ring tournament from a year or 2 ago, which made me no longer believe in Santa Claus. I'm not going to explain how that works. Y'all asses need to go to church and also go to New Japan World and watch some G1 Climax where they got multiple brackets. Oh my god, you guys will be shitting your pants because they got like 5 or 6 brackets in there, or 4 or 3. America. While you're at it, check out Pro Wrestling Noah's N1 Victory, which is kind of a ripoff of G1 Climax, but you know what? It's better. It's better. You need to accept that Pro Wrestling Noah is amazing and better than New Japan, and I will die on that hill. Come on, shoot me with an arrow. Somebody shoot me with an arrow right now. I love round robin tournaments so much, I came up with my own, called the ST Climax, consisting of Shania Twain. How do you say Shania Twain in the plural form? The hell's Cousin It doing here? Now, here in America, TNA tried doing a round-robin tournament called the World Title Series, and it was a load of bullshit. Because what they did was they recorded like a ton of wrestling over the course of like 3 months and just put it out there and was like, yeah, it's a round robin tournament. But it wasn't a round robin tournament. They just showed a bunch of wrestling matches and was like, Ethan Carter III, EC3 is the new champion. That works? Yeah. Don't let anyone know there's no brackets for this. Seriously, this thing made me lose my faith in Santa. I swear to God, every match was like, 2 minutes long? All collective matches were like 15 minutes? I've had bowel movements last longer than that. Routinely. WWE is never going to do a round robin thing. Fans are too busy drinking beer and licking Cheeto dust out their fingers. How you enjoying CM Punk?
Oh, best. We love you, buddy. I like Cheeto dust on my fingers. I'm just saying. Well, hey, let's talk about Friday night as SmackDown did their tribute to the troops, and this was a pretty loaded SmackDown. And let's talk about him first and foremost. CM Punk was on Friday night, and I gotta say, night and day difference from that appearance and that promo from Raw last week. Wouldn't you say, Mr. B-Roll?
Yeah, it felt more real.
Yeah, didn't feel as scripted. We focused on some things. We had some teases, making me a little nervous going into the Royal Rumble. Damn it, I need Cody to finish the story. I don't want Punk against Roman. There. Oh, I shouldn't even said it. I'm not going to talk that into existence. It's not going to happen. Now, Punk and Rollins, that's what we need at WrestleMania. I'm just saying. But it's interesting, kind of dressing like Seth a little bit, teasing there, dressing the bloodline, teasing there. How about those backstage encounters with Nick Aldis, with Cody Rhodes? That was interesting. And then, of course, running into LA Knight and Randy Orton.
Kevin Owens.
Kevin Owens, yeah, as well. Like everything that Punk did on Friday is like what I kind of really anticipated, like on his return to Monday Night Raw. So hopefully it's a step in the right direction, which I think it is. So, but hey, like I say, SmackDown was the loaded show. The U.S. title tournament kicked off. The number one contenders tournament kicked off. Of course, Santos Escobar would advance after beating Dragon Lee. Also, Bobby Lashley would advance after defeating Karrion Kross. We would see Randy Orton team up with LA Knight to go up against the Bloodline. That was kind of a fascinating tag match. Yeah. But we got to talk about it, B-Roll. Asuka going up against Charlotte, and it looks like Charlotte may have sustained an injury after this matchup. Now, we're not 100% certain what the extent of that injury is, or if this is storyline based, or what it is exactly. But if she is injured, I hope she gets well. Because we got to. It just doesn't feel right if Charlotte Flair is not in a WrestleMania matchup, right?
It didn't look good.
No, it didn't look good. So we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens with the Queen herself. But hopefully she recovers and we'll get to see her back in the ring very, very soon. And let's talk about Monday Night Raw. God, this feels like a lifetime ago, man. But this was like Drew McIntyre's night to shine, man. Of course, kicking it off with an interesting promo, kind of taking a little jabs at CM Punk, but also the matchup with Sami Zayn to kick us off. But let's talk about the way his night ended, because that was an incredible matchup with Jey Uso challenging Seth Rollins for the world title. Oh, that's another matchup that could have easily been match of the week here on PW60. But then Drew just coming out and wrecking shop, man, destroying Jey, destroying Seth. What do you think of Drew McIntyre's like his where his character's going right now? Verdict's still out, not out yet.
Verdict's still out. It's a step in the right direction, though. How about that?
Okay, I can accept that. I'm loving it personally. I think it's long overdue. It's a fresh coat of paint that he desperately needed, man. So I'm here and I'm for it, man. But also, you got to see Imperium was up in tag action on Monday night as well against DIY in a 2 out of 3 falls matchup. You got to see that Cody promo as well as Judgment Day going up against the Creed brothers. Even though it was a lifetime ago, man, I gotta say Monday Night Raw I thought was another great week for Raw. Another great week for the WWE in general. Speaking of which, let's talk about NXT from this past Tuesday night as we were on the Go Home show going into NXT Deadline. The biggest takeaway from this, let's talk about it. The biggest moment, no pun intended, literally. What about that viral moment with Lash slamming Otis?
Yeah.
Like, that was, dude, that was badass. I mean, she had his big ass up there for a couple of seconds, man. That wasn't no like Lex Luger slamming Yokozuna. He's putting his hand on the hip or what. I mean, that was power personified from Lash, man. Like, dude, that was, I popped hard for that moment. What'd you think when she got him up there? Were you just was blown away like the rest of us?
Yeah, it was pretty nuts. I had seen the clips before I'd actually sat down and watched it, and I was like, "Oh, geez."
Yeah. And then also, man, it pains me to talk about this, but we got some more information on the Chase U scandal that's going on, and it looks like the founder himself was taking some money under the I just I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep my composure, but it's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow when you have such strong faith in this incredible university and you hear news like this. It just makes you sick, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm going to try to keep my composure here, Mr. B-roll.
Yeah.
Um,
Now,
but it,
one thing I thought was interesting. I'll give you a minute. I'll give you a minute.
thank you.
But Lola Vice, she won the Breakouts tournament. They were saying that she could even cash in that contract for an opportunity at the tag titles.
Oh, really?
Yes, they were hinting at that, and I'm like, well, that's
That's
interesting.
interesting.
I think that's to like play out a story with her and her counter or compadre or amiga, Electra Lopez.
Could be.
I think it's to play out a story there, but
Yeah, you're not wrong, my friend. I mean, it's interesting. I didn't hear that tidbit about the tag titles, but that makes you think, man. But we got to talk about this unfortunate news coming out of NXT this past Tuesday night as one Wes Lee is injured, has a back injury, and it looks like he's going to be out for a while. He's going to have some surgery done. Man, you hate to see this because like this, he is like was the cornerstone, I think, of kind of like the workhorse like title that is the North American title. I think we talked about it earlier. I think he would have probably been walking out of Deadline and then once again North American champion and had another amazing reign. But it's gonna be a minute before we see him, man. I hate to see this happen. You hate to see it happen to anybody, man. But there's just something about Wes Lee, I think, that the entire like WWE universe really like connects with him. I mean, I know you love your high flyers and stuff, so I mean, this got to be a huge blow for you, right?
yeah, it was because with wrestling, it's interesting because it tiptoes that line between fantasy and reality. You're kind of like, is this a work or shoot? Is this a work or shoot? But yeah, I think he's 100% definitely hurt, and yeah, that
Yeah,
sucks.
it does, man. Well, we here at PW60, we want to wish him well, and we hope we get to see him in a ring once again. But mainly hope he gets healthy and we'll get, like I say, he'll heal up sooner than later. Won't be out for a significant period of time, but we will have to see. Man, so many shows, so little time. MLW and the World Titan Federation's one-shot show took place this past week And in the main event, Alex Kane, our boy, retained his MLW championship against that hoe himself, one Matt Cardona. Not surprised in the least bit here. Knew Alex Kane was going to be retained, and he ain't going to drop that belt to Matt Cardona. Come on, man. Come on. But this was a great show, man. Like, absolutely a sleeper of a match. I got to say this real quick. A sleeper of a match on this show. Probably my favorite match on the show was Kojima going up against Tom Lawler. That is a great match.
That's what I wanted to talk about. Can we talk about the ending of the match?
Oh, where everybody's throwing bread into the ring?
Yes, sir.
And like Kojima is just cutting a promo, just saying like, "I love you. It's great to be back." Because Kojima hadn't wrestled in MLW over like 20 years. He was like one of their first world champions. So it was great to see him back in an MLW ring. I also really enjoyed the Mio Yamashita matchup as she went up against Delmi Exo for the TWB Princess title. That was another solid matchup on this card as well. Janai Kai against Maki Ito was great. But the big thing at the end of the night here of this show, Richard Holiday is back in MLW, and it looks like he will be the next challenger for Alex Kane. And it also looks like, too, that Richard Holiday has signed on with the World Titan Federation as they continue to get stronger and stronger. Happy to see Richard Holiday back. I think that'll be an interesting matchup. But at the end of the day, you are not going to stop Alex Kane's title reign. I'm sorry. It just, Richard Holiday, thanks for coming, but you're going to get your ass suplexed all over the place. You're going to get choked out at the end of the day. Because nobody is stopping the Bomai Fight Club. Not this, especially not this early on.
Look at all the people they're having to stack up against him. I mean,
see you. Nobody's stopping Alex Kane anytime soon, man. Bomai! Also, one thing I want to say real quick about this show is I love the presentation of this show as well. It was hilarious. It was like kind of like some throwbacks and some like kind of parody commercials in there. Do yourself a favor if you haven't checked it out, go back and watch it. It's on Fight TV. Give it a watch, man, because this was a great show. Speaking of great shows, also, God, man, we had so many damn good shows this week, Mr. B-Roll. It's nuts. Impact Wrestling did their show in Mexico with AAA. And, dude, this was a freaking awesome show, man. Anytime we get to see AAA, like, on TV, I'm all for it, man. I love that matchup with El Hijo del Faikino teaming up again with the Motor City Machine Guns. Dude, that was a solid matchup going up against Trey Miguel and Los Vipers. Got to see Laredo Kid was on this card, too, teaming up with Tommy Dreamer to go up against Brian Myers and Black Taurus. Did you get a chance to watch all this show or some of this show?
I've watched some of it. I like the opener with Trinity and Samid teaming up together in the mixed tag match.
Yeah, that was really good. Solid show, like I say. Not sound like a broken record, but Impact Wrestling is firing on all cylinders right now. And if you're not giving a watch, you definitely need to. And we also found out some big news coming out of TNA / Impact as at the January 14th tapings at Snake Eyes, we're going to see one Will Ospreay in action. But guess what? The Rainmaker himself is returning to TNA Wrestling. Holy bleep. Kazuchika Okada will be back in TNA Wrestling. He will be teaming up with the Motor City Machine Guns to go up against Moose, Brian Myers, and Eddie Edwards. Like, the significance of this
is he going to bring back the gimmick? That's what I want to know.
You take that back. Take that back, man. But it's some serious news, though. Will Ospreay, Josh Alexander 2 is also going to be happening. Holy shit. That is going to be an explosive set of shows coming on January the 14th for TNA Wrestling. And speaking of the Rainmaker himself, there is a lot of news going on as Okada is a free agent So it looks like Kazuchika Okada, and there's a lot of rumors going around that he may not be resigning with New Japan. There's potential some interest coming over to North America. Um, One thing to factor into this, I think, is his wife, who is an actor looks like she is wanting to get into films over here. So if Okada comes over to the U.S., like we're gonna lose our shit. I'm just saying. But I mean, you think about it, he's done literally everything there is to do in New Japan Pro Wrestling. So it would be a massive blow to New Japan, but I also think it would be good for Okada because he gets a fresh coat of paint, so to speak. It's just a matter of like how he's presented, I think. I feel like if he's in AEW, that's one thing, and plus he could still work with New Japan. I feel like that's where he would go. But if he goes to the WWE, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what do you think he'll land? Where do you think he'll land? Or do you think he stays in Japan?
I think he either goes to AEW or he stays in New Japan. But
Yeah.
it once. You never know. You never know.
You never know. And hey, it's come that time of the show. Let's get things a little spicy. Let's go to Spicy Guac with Spicy Take.
Spicy Guac reminding you that if you base your entire personality off of Sean Ross Sapp, Dave Meltzer, Bully Ray, Tommy Dreamer, or any of these wrestling podcast personalities, you are fickle, and I hope Christmas leaves you with nothing besides Young Buck merch that doesn't fit you. Goodbye!
Oh, spicy. Now that is spicy. Well, hey, here's an update on Ring of Honor's final battle card that will be exclusive on Ring of Honor's Honor Club. We announced last week that Billy Starks will be going up against Athena for the Ring of Honor Women's Championship. We did find out this week this is the main event of this show, and rightfully so. I am so pumped just for that matchup. Keith Lee against Shane Taylor and the rivalry from the past there. That's going to be a great matchup. Tony Nese going up against Ethan Page. If you watch Ring of Honor television, you know that's been building for a little while. And how about this one? The Blackpool Combat Club going up against Mark Briscoe and FTR in a tribute match to Jay Briscoe. Even with a couple matches so far, man, I'm excited for this final battle show. Especially Billy Starks and Athena. That is going to be, dude, I cannot wait. That is like one of the best stories going in wrestling right now that nobody's talking about, in my opinion, which y'all should be. But that'll be coming up this Friday. Will be Final Battle. And an update on the World Tag League standings, which something we haven't really been talking about here on PW60, but it's getting almost down to the wire now. In the A block, you got the Bullet Club War Dogs are leading with 10 points. However, they're in a tie, but they do have the tiebreaker over TMDK. Also, you've got Tomohiro Ishii and Toru Yano with 8 points, followed by the United Empires, Great Ohan and Hanari with 8 points. Now, in the B block, you have Hikuleo and El Phantasmo are leading with 10 points, followed by Bishamon, of course, Yoshihashi and Hiroki Goto with 9 points. Then you have the team of Monster Sauce, Lance Archer and Alex Kane with 8 points, followed by Just Five Guys, Taichi and Yua Uemura. World Tag League, we're getting ready. We're getting down to the wire here as we're going to crown who those champs will be and who will go on to Wrestle Kingdom to challenge for the IWGP Tag Team Championship. And a little bit of a scary moment this week, right, B-Roll? That it looked like the Yeet movement was being shut down as WWE, there was some copyright issues with Yeet. However, it kind of looks like those are back. If you saw a house show from over the weekend here, do you think WWE's got the rights back to Yeet, or going to get the rights to it?
Who knows?
We need it. We need more Yeet in our life. I'm just saying. So
I mean, the crowd's not going to stop chanting it anyway.
That's the thing. Yeah. So you might as well go hell and get the pad and get the whatever for it. Damn it. Just saying. And here's an interesting tidbit. You have WWE is looking to cut down on the amount of house shows they do per year. I don't know. I think some people will be excited for that. Some people not. I think it's great for the talent, but also at the same time too, it's kind of like a double-edged sword. But I guess you can still work out in the performance center or whatever. And a lot of talent do live in the Florida area. But I don't know. Like I'm not shocked by it. I don't think there's a ton of revenue to be had from house shows, but who knows? And
If it's good for the talent, it's good for me.
yeah, that's the way I look at it. Agreed. Now this saddens me, Mr. B-roll. It looks like WWE at the end of the year will discontinue its home video division, which pretty much means they're not going to be putting out DVDs or Blu-rays because everything's going to streaming. As a physical media collector himself, I am sad to see this because you're starting to see it all across the place too. Where like I think Best Buy's discontinuing with physical media. Physical media is just becoming like. But the thing is, you know what's going to happen here is it's going to become like collective for people like me who still collect it. They're going to have to pay even more money to get shit that was like dirt cheap
Yep.
before. So I'm a little
Yep.
saddened by this.
And there's the big thing with Sony going on right now. They're removing,
Yeah.
it's going to be a thing.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, it really gets under my skin, and it almost, dare I say, grinds my gears. Speaking of which, it's been a minute, but our good friend Ron has got some things he wants to say that really is grinding his gears right now. So let's go to Ron for a little grind my gears.
Welcome back to Ron's Grind My Gears. And I'm going to tell you what's really grinding my gears this week is I'm getting sick and tired of all these wrestlers going on the Twitter and complaining and whining and moaning about things. Now you got Bryan Danielson, who's apparently fining people if you say something wrong on the Twitter. Back in my day, we didn't bitch and moan online. We had wrestlers call. That's where we settle things mano a mano. We'd shake hands and move on and do business. Well, that's what grown-ass adults do. I'll tell you something else that really grinds my gears. It's these two right here, Mr. B-Roll and XLJ. I ain't been on this show in a long damn time. What the hell's up with that? Well, I ain't good enough for this show now. You done big timing me. Ain't returning my phone calls or nothing. I'm gonna come through over there and I'm gonna beat your ass. Damn!
I'm sorry, Ron. I mean, I've tried talking to you before, but it's just like, what the hell? You know, what do you do? Anyways. Well, hey, here's a rival of Ron's who is in the news this week. How about Ken Shamrock signing a WWE Legends deal? Does this mean we're going to get Ken Shamrock on a WWE screen sometime soon? I'm for it. Hell, I think he should be in the Hall of Fame, honestly. I enjoyed everything Ken Shamrock did, even though it was like a short period of time in WWE, but still he was a pivotal member of the Attitude Era, so I don't know. Let's see what the world's most dangerous man is going to be doing in the WWE, hopefully sometime real soon in the future. And this was interesting, come out this week that one, as Ron alluded to, Bryan Danielson is being put in charge of fining wrestlers for going on to Twitter and making some comments. I just love how Danielson like played it off with like, if you don't watch Rampage tonight, or this was on Friday, he's going to fine every single one of you. I love me some Bryan Danielson. I think it's actually a good thing, probably, because I mean, there needs to be more control in AEW, and it seems like with wrestling fans, it's just like, especially AEW fans, it's like we either complain about there not being enough guidance, and that like Tony's letting the inmates run the asylum, or it's like when stuff like this happens, oh well, that's not right. It's just like shit or get off the pot, folks. Like, I mean, come on. I think it's a good decision, personally. I think Bryan Danielson's like a level-headed enough person for this to work out for him. Also this week, this was an interesting B-roll. Maybe this is another reason why they don't want to do any more house shows, as a fan tried to attack Grayson Waller at a house show this past week. What do you make of this?
Yeah, well.
Yeah, it is what it is, I guess. So, you know, egg on your face, buddy, because, that didn't really work out for you as well. Also, we found out this week that the daughter of one Brock Lesnar, Maya Lesnar, broke her school record for shot put. Why are you laughing? You should not be laughing. Don't be like the rest of the internet, B-roll. I don't understand why people are like making jokes and stuff about this. Like,
I'm still laughing about the Grayson Waller thing.
I see. Or are you? But seriously, I don't see. Would you really want to piss Brock Lesnar off? Hell, I mean, Brock Lesnar, Maya Lesnar would beat your ass too, man. Like, she would take your ass to Suplex City. I would not want to make either of them mad. So, internet, cool your tits. I'm just saying. Also this week, Baron Corbin actually won a jiu-jitsu tournament outside of the ring. Good for him. That is very random. And speaking of random, let's go to Brian with Brian's random moment of the week.
Hello again. Hope you're enjoying another great episode of PW60 with all the awesome content creators. And now you got me. Boy, that's a big drop down from the rest of them. Just kidding. Not really. So I hope you're enjoying the episode, having a great week. And I hope this week goes for you great as well. Looking at pro wrestling factions in history and our series about your ultimate version of them. Make the changes as you want. And yes, a dog barking in the background. Woof, woof, woof. All right, last week we looked at the Wyatt family. Had their start in NXT. Had a big main run roster on the main roster, obviously. Several championships, things like that. And you to build your ultimate version. Now we're going to look at a faction that had a start in NXT, was primarily in NXT, had a couple short little runs on the main roster a few times, but that is the Undisputed Era. Now, when you look at the Undisputed Era and their connections of the people that were in it, of course, that would be an ultimate version. But for fun, and to get your creative juices flowing, let's take the same the four people. Of course, we had Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish. Now, let's keep 2 and remove 2. The interesting thing I'm looking forward to with your comments below is which 2 members do you keep and which 2 do you remove? And along with that, the 2 that you take out, who do you put in their place? And again, the criteria is anybody from that time period. They could be on the SmackDown roster from then, the Raw roster, or the NXT roster, but you're not limited to just WWE. You could pull from Impact Wrestling, from, at that time, Ring of Honor. So, for example, if you wanted to, you could say, keep Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, and pull in the Young Bucks. Kind of a reunion of a version of Mount Rushmore in PWG. You could do that. You could keep O'Reilly and Strong and then throw in 2 other completely random people that you feel free to do so. However you want to do it. So, that's right. We're going to shock the system with this one. Give me your ultimate 4 members of the Undisputed Era. Boom.
Ooh, he's bringing the thunder with that one. We love you, Brian. And hey, we love our wrestling content creators. And speaking of which, Mr. B-Roll, tell us about who our Ruby Ringside wrestling content creator of the week is this week.
Yes, indeed. We got the Ross Man fam here. It's family, or it's Christmas time. It's a time all about family. And here we have a family that loves pro wrestling. They do some funny little bits and stuff. So go give them a follow and check them out.
There you go. They are our Ruby Ringside wrestling content creator of the week. And finally, we found out that WWE will not host any live events scheduled between December the 19th to the 25th. So all the wrestlers, all the staff, all the town are going to be off for Christmas time. I think this is a really solid move. I mean, wrestling's been notorious for being on every day of the year and on holidays, double shots and stuff. But I mean, it's a different world we live in, and I think this is great for the talent. Like, what do you think about this?
Way to go, Papa H.
Way to go, Papa H, indeed. Well, Mr. B-Roll, somehow we have done it again. We have come to the end here. Oh, hell no, we ain't done yet. I ain't done with you boys. I still want to talk to you how you ain't called me and had me on your show, man. And you call this PW60. You guys are going over 60 minutes every week. What the hell's up with that, man? Yeah, Ron, settle down, okay? That's going to wrap it up for this episode, and we hope you have a wonderful week. It's going to be another incredible week of pro wrestling action. Until next week, we'll see you for another episode of Pro Wrestling 60. Oh, will you? I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here every damn week. I'm going to be in all your shows. I'm going to be all over the place, man. You ain't going to stop me. You're not going to stop Ron Simmons.